Hey, y'all, it's Krystal Hunsucker. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Happy Magnanimous Monday. And I got to be honest with you guys, until like an hour ago, I didn't remember that it was Monday. So I hope somebody listens to this message. Please forgive me. I am so sorry. I with year end and all the things, all the amazing, incredible, exciting things going on this morning and last night to close up and finish. And I had kind of a weird, crazy night in my house last night, and it's Monday, and I didn't know it. So I promise you guys, though, one of the things, first of all, I want to congratulate everyone who made a big finish. Whatever it was that you decided to win in, know that it's big. I mean, if it was you placed an order to get active, that was big. So just give yourself a moment to be excited about that. But, one of the things with the new year that I really want you to really just take something that I do a lot is that I always love to reflect and look back. And one of the things that is so crucial to the health of your business, for the emotional health of yourself, is to always, and to be better here going forward, is to always evaluate what worked this year, what didn't work this year, did you work this year? Whatever that looks like, answer some of those questions to yourself of what would you like to do different? What are some things that held you back that you don't want that to happen again, that you want to be proactive, that you want to have the armor of God on, ready for some of those things that could happen again, and you're not going to let them stop you this year. So I really want to encourage you to do some reflecting, but really I'm not going to do too much on Mary Kay training today. It's the first day of the year. I know you're going to be goal setting, and all the jewelry is already out for this coming seminar year. Some exciting changes to our pay scale were announced today that are really awesome and just simple. They're more simple. There's simplicity to it. The red jacket bonus is staying in place. When you're a first-time red jacket, you can still get the $100, which is super exciting. And Great Start is continuing. And so just lots of awesome things going on, some awesome, significant, exciting, simple changes to director commissions and how a director can get paid on building offspring. But y'all read about all that. I don't even want to go into all that right now, because I know that in the next week, I don't want you to just today go, okay, this is my goal. This is what I'm doing. I want you to really think on it and decide that, I am a big thinker. I totally agree with you need to shoot for the moon and land in the stars, but I also want you to be a realist with the goals that you're setting, to not set yourself up for failure, that you set a goal and then you're not willing to do the work that matches the goal. It's one thing to set the goal, do the work, and the goal didn't come together. It's another thing to set the goal really knowing that, basically, like, for instance, if you're a consultant and you're saying, I'm going to win a pink Cadillac by Christmas, well, could you do that? Yes, you totally could. But it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time and effort. It's going to take a lot, and are you willing to put that kind of effort into your business? Do you see what I'm saying? Do y'all see where I'm going here? I want you to shoot big. I want you to think big, but I also want you to match what work you're willing to put in to be able to reach the goal. So with all of that said, just very quickly, I'm not going to leave a long message today, but really quickly, just want to just walk you down just the last few weeks, 2 months for us. Baby Beckham is officially 8 weeks old today, and it's been, the thing that always makes me laugh about God is that it always seems that He truly does, I call it the railroad of life, and I think it was Max Lucado that kind of shared this theory on something that I'd read or listened to at one point, and it's really just the mindset of that our life is a railroad track, and then you've got these two tracks side by side, parallel together. And on one track, I mean, I'm talking in certain things in your life, whatever it is. I mean, they could not go wrong. I mean, it is just bliss. It is awesome. It's exciting. And then on the other rail, you just have devastation. You have something life-altering, life-changing, really hard to deal with on this other track. And that very rarely are these tracks not side by side in some way. And so I always think about that, especially having a newborn, because on one track, it is the sweetest, most precious time that you can never get back. I mean, this baby is only this little for like half a second in the grand scheme of life. I mean, it's just, he's only this little, but on this other rail, I've had a lot of heartache and sleepless nights, which lead to grouchy mommy and, some different things that have happened with Beckham in the last few weeks that were just really stressful, and really tried to steal my joy through the walk of having a newborn. And this is me being totally real and vulnerable with you guys. And I will just tell you that, I love having a newborn, but I'm also going to say having a newborn is hard. It is hard. And so we had an amazing delivery backing you up to May 6th. It could not have gone any smoother, any better. And the only thing that took away the word perfect to go along with the delivery is that I get really nauseous anytime they start giving me lots of medicine. And so after my C-section, I found myself very sick. I was throwing up. It was just horrible. And I'm like, just give me medicine. And so finally got that taken care of. And once the nausea went away, I mean, it was night and day difference from my last delivery. Whereas Boone was an emergency. I pushed for 4 hours. It was trauma on me. It was trauma on the baby. A totally different recovery. But this time, I knew what I was walking into. I knew I was prepared. And that's one thing that I'm really taking into my future right now in this season is there was a big difference in when things happen and it's completely unknown. It feels like that somebody slapped you in the face. That was having Boone. That was my birth with Boone, versus being completely prepared, knowing what was coming, knowing what was going to happen, knowing what the healing process looked like, the pain that was going to happen, how I was going to feel, how long it was going to take, all those different things. And it completely altered my whole road to recovery. It altered my whole experience. And so that's something that is in my personal life with having this baby that you can take into your business and into your life, is that what are things that you learned this year that maybe slapped you in your face, that now that you're going to be prepared and you're going to have a strategy and you're going to have a thought process that is completely different because of what you walked through the first time. So pretty cool stuff, right? I'm just really just coming up with things off the top of my head. I didn't have any of this planned because I didn't know it was Monday. So that was one of the things. And really just, oh my word, like Beckham came out, and of course mommy's eyes, my eyes, it's just one of the most beautiful newborns I've ever seen. I mean, he just was just so perfect and so beautiful. And I kind of joked. I was like, well, if I didn't get to have a girl, I have a pretty little boy. I've got a really pretty little baby boy. And Boone has been just unbelievable with him. And so fast forward, we had a great first several weeks. Brad actually took 3 weeks off. My mom was on the trip. She was here the first week that I had the baby, and then she was on the trip, the national trip, the following 2 weeks. And so basically it was just Brad and I, and you have an expectation of what it's going to look like. And I had this expectation of what it was supposed to look like, that my mom was supposed to be at my house, and all of these things, and this person was supposed to come by, and that person. And when the day was said and done, I actually ended up having the most quiet, peaceful time, really, with just me and Brad and Boone and the baby, and it was this is how much God knows where you're at and what you need. It was exactly what we needed as a family, becoming a new family of 4, but it was not what I would have planned. I would have planned mass chaos, my sister running in and out with all her kids, and my mom being there and staying with us, and, that's what I would have planned for. But God knew that we needed something different, and I can tell you, I would not trade those 3 weeks that I had with Brad home for any amount of money. And so I just want to encourage you with that when God changes your expectation and he changes your plan with what you thought was going to be the best, lean in. Just lean into that, because it ended up being probably the biggest blessing of my recovery were those days all together as a family of 4. So fast forward to a few weeks after that, when Beckham was about 5 weeks old, I really started realizing and noticing that he was spitting up a lot, but it was not a normal a lot. And I started getting concerned. And so I got him into the doctor, and we ended up having to do a little baby x-ray, which was scary because, you're like, is there something wrong? What's happening? My pediatrician is saying, this isn't normal what he's doing. Praise God, the x-ray actually went awesome, and it was just so beautiful. I got to be in there with him, with the pediatric radiologist, and he just walked me through the whole thing, and he would immediately say, it's not this, it's not that. I see reflux, and it really, that was just the answer. We just had to give it time, and it was reflux. Got him on some baby Zantac, which has helped a lot. But I've really the piece, whatever it may be, there was a possibility he was going to have surgery if it was, one diagnosis. But praise God, it was not that. And I've had to deal with a lot of spit up, the way that one of my best friends says it. She's got 3 kids, and she said, I always used to say that if you were going to feed my kids, you better get a raincoat, because they would spit up so much. And so Boone just didn't do that. Every child is different. And so that was a really trust walk that I had to go through, that I really learned a lot about myself, and was really just, I don't want to say proud, but I was proud of myself. I think sometimes it's okay to be, you can be proud of yourself and not be prideful. And I was just really proud of myself with where I was with the situation, with my relationship with God, because I didn't have fear, because I just knew whatever the solution was, whatever the answer was, it was going to be okay, that God was going to take care of it, and that it was going to be okay. And it was. And he handled it even easier and more beautifully than I even thought was going to happen. So that was part of our walk. So we've had a lot of these ups and downs. Beckham had colic as well, so we would go through several weeks where from about 10:30 or 11 until there was a couple of times it was until 4 or 5, another time, and then we slowly decreased where finally we got to where it was about an hour apart with the colic. And oh my word, if you had a baby with colic, I know you're going, oh, poor Krystal. I know you are. But with all of that said, we made it through that as well. We made it through. We did it. And he's getting better. We've almost completely walked through all of the colic and all of that. But there's just been a lot of stressful things. And so then it's the end of the year. I'm needing to close out my year. I was not going to miss the cruise. It was not going to happen. I wasn't going to do it. I had to make it happen and figure it out. And I will tell you guys, there were times that I was like, I have every good reason on the planet that not one single person in the Mary Kay world would judge me or question me or go, gosh, I can't believe that Krystal didn't push through and finish. I mean, I had every reason in the world, but because of all those reasons, it's the biggest reasons why I had to do it, why it had to get done. I had to not only not necessarily prove to to everyone else, but really prove to myself that I do have what it takes, that I do have what it's made of, and that I can do things. I can do hard things. You know, what I teach Boone all the time, that I can do hard things, and that it was hard. It was not easy, but by the skin of our teeth, we finished it. And my motto with the finish, sometimes I've said this a lot of times with different DIQs that I've built, It ain't got to be pretty. It's just got to get done. That's really what we did. It wasn't totally pretty, but it totally got done. And the amazing thing was the 3 reds that I ended up with. This is how cool God is. Were actually 3 different people over the last year and a half that at some point have been recruited from people that I actually go to church with. And they are the 3 that stepped up and made their red jacket happen with my help. I mean, how cool is that? You know, it just really made it even more beautiful. And at our church, it was Miracle Month, and so I got to tell them what a miracle they were for me, that they were my miracle. And I also, though, I'll be really honest, the biggest thing was not only to prove to myself that with the hard year and the hard things that have happened, I said this is going to be a short call. Y'all know I can't do a short call. That with the hard things that had happened this last year with my pregnancy and, you know, having a newborn, which is just stressful. It's just an exciting and stressful time all at the same time. And, but I wanted to do it for Brad. And, you know, it's when you've had a rough pregnancy and you don't feel well and then you have a newborn and you had a C-section, so you had this surgery. So I'm talking like almost a full year, really about 10 months of me not feeling well, wore on our marriage. I mean, I'm sure he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so over it. But we made it. We're in a great place. And so to be able to gift him saying, guess what? I have exciting news, because I really was pretty hush-hush about finishing it because I wanted to surprise him that it was done. And so that was probably my biggest seminar win this year, was being able to do that, to announce and gift that to Brad. So the last thing, too, that I want to share with you guys about, that I was pretty vague on Facebook about, was at the end of my pregnancy, before I had Beckham, I was feeling amazing. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I have finally turned the corner. Like, I'm going to rock it out this last month and a half. And so I had about 2 weeks of just feeling great. I'm getting all this stuff done. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to get some work done. I booked I literally booked like 4 events at my house that I was going to do because I just felt so great. And Easter rolled around, and I was having some issues. I had this little rash come up, and I just thought on my, kind of like under my arm, and I was just like, okay, that's kind of weird. Kind of looks like I got bit by something, but I don't think I got bit by something. And it was kind of where my bra was. And so I was like, okay. And then I started having all these shooting, tingling pains. And anyone who knows where I'm going with this, if you've ever experienced, I got shingles. You guys, 9 months pregnant, Easter weekend. I hosted Easter, which what was I thinking? But anyways, I still hosted it because if I didn't have it at my house, I wasn't going to see anybody on Easter. I physically couldn't even go to church. My blood pressure went through the roof, so I got put on a temporary bed rest. I would say it was almost devastating because I felt so horrible. The baby was growing big, and, you know, if the last month of pregnancy is just tough. So for over 2 weeks, I had it, just to be honest with you. I was like, okay, this is just killing me. I mean, it was just so hard on my body. And I finally started losing some of the symptoms from the shingles, which can take 4 to 6 weeks for the shooting, tingling. I call it jellyfish stings, that it was like a jellyfish was laying on my back. Pain. I'm trying to give Boone attention and love on him. I'm trying to love on my husband, and we're all worried. And then the symptoms start lowering, and I get the worst sinus infection I've probably had in a year or two. And I am so sick, you guys. I am coughing. It was horrible. So by the time I went to deliver, I had taken all the antibiotic. I was finally starting to feel better from the sinus infection, but the cough was still there. And if you've ever had a C-section or abdominal surgery, you know how awesome it is to be coughing and have an incision. With all of that said, it was just, we made it, and keeping a great attitude through that. And that was really just my life lesson through it, was that I was still keeping a good attitude. I was still I am firm. I am a firm believer, for me personally. This is not for everyone, but it is for me, that if I get up every day and at least get dressed and get my makeup on, my day is 100 times better than it would have. And so that's really what I did. I mean, and that was the way that I got through it, through especially that last 3 or 4 weeks of my pregnancy, was I got dressed. I got up and I got dressed. So let's have a year like that. So that is the whole story. That is the rest of the story. But we made it. Beckham's healthy, doing awesome. He's sleeping through the night. Boone is doing incredible. And the best is yet to come. So make sure that you take some time to reflect over this last year, and don't just on a whim make your goal. Decide what your goal is going to be, and that you are willing to put in the effort to back up that goal and that dream. That's where I want your thermometer to be on what your dream is. Shoot for the moon and land in the stars, but match it with your activity. Raise your hands in the air so I can bless you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you. May you know that if God is for you, who can be against you? With God on your side, whom shall you fear? May you be like a tree that is planted by rivers of living water, that your leaf will not wither, and whatsoever you do, say it with me, it shall prosper. My mom just got in the car while I'm recording. Happy New Year, and have a great 4th of July. Bye.